Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 152 of Into the Outer Realms. I'm your interstellar host and traveler, Joey Medea. What we're going to talk about today is, well, it's very grounded here on Earth. But then again, it has some supernatural elements. It certainly has some spiritual elements, some energy, body, and magic sort of elements. It's a book, although my guest is returning, and I was telling Samuel he now has the distinction of having the most popular Into the Outer Realm show across all of our platforms. He came on several months ago and he talked about the Thiaoouba Prophecy, which is the Michel Desmarquet story of his 10-day abduction by higher intelligences. We had an excellent discussion about that. We've gotten really good feedback, and he's keeping very busy talking about this. But I will tell you that this is his first appearance talking about this book, which he was also involved with. You will see as the translator. And it's sort of a scary skull here, but yet some pink and blue kind of pastel. And it's a book of contradictions. So I don't know if this design was on purpose or not, but it speaks volumes to me. So the title is interesting. It's 334,000th lies. So it's not 334%, but thousandth. And we will talk about, Samuel and I, we will talk about what that means. It's an encodement. And there could be lots of encodements in this book. It is professed to be written by an absolute master, a top master of the Illuminati. So we're going to talk about secret societies tonight. It's a hot button topic. It's a fringe theory, as I like to call it. So people don't like the C word, conspiracy theory, but they tend to go around these elites. And we have these groups, these modern groups, the global elites, the billionaires who have a lot of power. There's very few of them, and they have a lot of power. They have foundations, and they sit on councils, and they're doing space programs, and you know who they are. We need not name them. I'm not saying that they're parts of secret societies, but now that I think about it, think about Mark Zuckerberg at what used to be Facebook. Now it's Meta, and the Illuminati-esque images that were on the inside of the hoodies of the inner circle. That was a big thing everybody was talking about, probably about 10 years ago. So in the entertainment industry, and this performer and that performer and Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, and what are all these things with triangles and different symbols? And so it's very important. We will talk about the difficulties of the book. It pulls no punches. Some people give up on it because there's a lot of darkness in it. We're not going to give you the detail, but we will tell you why we think that it's important and why the book is important. We're going to hear that first and foremost from Samuel, who asked that tonight be more of a conversation, more of a discussion than an interview, as we did with Thiaoouba. So I think that's all I want to tell you right now. We'll roll the opening, come back. We'll get Samuel on. He'll tell you a little bit about himself, how he got involved with this 334,000 lies. Welcome, everyone.
There exists a realm beyond our wildest dreams, a realm beyond reality that the gatekeepers and guardians have always told us consists of nothing but tricks of the eye, weather balloons, swamp gas, sand cranes, fairy tale myths of monsters, crackpot conspiracy theories, and desperate cries for attention.
We know this realm exists, and it's just beyond the horizon. The preset path, the well-worn walkways where the cynics want us to stay.
Instead, give this a listen. Put on your headphones, adjust your volume, close your eyes, and fasten your mental seatbelts, because the twilight-tinged turnoff from reality's alluring highway is looming just ahead.
We're about to leave the plane of the easily explained, the couldn't possibly be's, and the no way I just saw what I saw's, for the spaces and places where everything is possible, and if you stay long enough, even probable. We're about to take a journey
into the outer realms.
Into the outer realms, indeed. So let's welcome tonight's guest returning, and I'm very, very honored because he's a very busy man, Samuel Chong. Good evening.
Thank you for having me here again.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And the first episode was so engaging. It's been very popular. It's getting views every day now, and it's been months later. We're getting good feedback on it. So tell the audience who may not have seen the first one, although I can't imagine that they haven't now, a little bit about yourself.
So I was born in Beijing, China, and I came here at the age of 15, studied high school and college at UC Berkeley, went to London School of Economics, and studied my master's degree in university in Spain, and in financial analysis. And I'm so far working as a certified court interpreter and a Chinese translator in Los Angeles.
Wow. Excellent. So how did you get involved? This book is so different. But in the end, I think has some common and equally important messages. But how did you get involved with translating this book?
You know, it actually came from the other book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, in which it emphasized the importance of being able to see and interpret auras or human energy fields. So I was doing a lot of research on that. I studied how other people were able to see auras, like Barbara Brennan, who wrote Hands of Light, and Rosalind Bury, who refused to collaborate with me in doing additional research on aura or developing aura camera, even though she is able to see as perfectly as Barbara Brennan, who is no longer active. And so out of frustration, I did a lot of additional research on the internet. And one day, I found this forum which mentioned about a book in German that talked about how the author was able to really see auras, how he was able to develop the ability to see the human energy field. So I really wanted to learn to be able to see auras. So I checked the book out. It was only in German. So that's how I read that book.
How many languages do you speak or translate or can?
My native tongue is Mandarin Chinese. I speak Cantonese, English, and Spanish. I studied some German when I was in high school. I speak more Japanese than German, but if I were to read a book in German, then I would have to translate it into English, and this is what I did with this book.
Right. Wow. And it's a wonderful translation. It's very easy to follow. So it's called, the subtitle is The Revelation of H.M. von Stuhl. Did you meet the author?
No, I know nothing about him.
So you contacted the publisher and said, hey, I'd really like to translate this, or?
Well, what happened was that I first translated the book into English because I had to read it personally. I really want to find out what's really going on in the book. And then I thought, since I already translated into English, why not make it public? So I was going to see if I could get a response from the publisher in Germany. And then after a few weeks, there was no response. I was going to do it on my own, but later on, I received an email saying that it was an excellent idea to have it translate into English. I was pretty happy. It's really kind of interesting how the publisher responded to me.
Yeah, and they didn't offer any kind of insight or anything.
Well, the insider information is actually in the foreword of the book.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to get into that, but I mentioned, folks, in the opening, this idea of we're in a time now of sort of conspiracy theory mania. But I was watching Three Beards podcast. Samuel's been on that, Craig Ansel and company, and one of them was saying, hey, everybody thought we conspiracy theorists were so crazy. Now it's looking like we're not, right? I'm getting a lot of emails and text and inquiries because we live about 40 minutes from where that train wreck happened, the toxic chemical, and the overlaps with white noise. and the fact that everybody in town was offered an RFID medical bracelet just weeks before the trade, and all of that overlap and all of the things going on in the world. It's a very, very tense. It's a very, very tense time. So there's these ideas of people controlling things and setting agendas, right? So there are secret lodges or societies, whether they're called the Illuminati, whether they're called the New World Order, which is a very American thing, and the Bushes, kind of introduced that idea. It's come up again. I think Biden has used those words. The global elite, which I talked about, these billionaires who money and influence, maybe nothing nefarious about it, but it's a few people dictating policy all across the world. And of course, the international banking cabal, going back to Robert Anton Wilson. Are you familiar with any of his books, the Illuminati trilogy or Cosmic Trigger?
Well, I read some books on the Illuminati, but I'm a very grounded person. I didn't believe any of those conspiracy theories. I have to have specific verifiable evidence or facts to prove the theories that they have. And this is like for this book, I think everything written in this book is true because it corroborates what Ronald Bernard says about the Illuminati. He was a Dutch banker who used to work for members of the Illuminati. And then people can do a search on the internet and find out about what happened to him.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And so this is an idea that they're setting the course of geopolitics from the shadows, that they're engineering puppet governments, wars, catastrophes of all kind. And we're, we get into this as investigators, we get into causation and correlation because two things happen in close proximity. So let's say, for example, the leader of a country says, the US, you're really, really bullies. And maybe this organization that we've agreed to be members of, maybe we're going to leave this organization if a certain other country gets into this organization. And then 3 days later, 45,000 people are dead in an earthquake. As a what if, I'm saying. So correlation. A statement is made, and then so people's minds go to, can catastrophes be through HARP or some of these other things? Can they be engineered? And the ultimate thing, and it certainly seems to be a message in here, Samuel, is the subjugation of humanity and to maintain control. That seemed to be an overarching thing, that's what these lodges are about. Did you get that from the book as well?
Yeah, I got the message from the book. The author who was doing that, but then he realized that something else was more important, which is love. So he, after he became the highest degree chair of the organization, he wanted to have a more symbiosis relationship of the lodge to the rest of the people, the rest of the world, which he was trying to build the organization to more like a benign organization.
Right.
But then the organization itself, before his realization or enlightenment, was not like that. And then after he left, after he disappeared, it's not to be like that either. This is the reason he disclosed the secrets of the secret lodge, because the secret societies, because he saw that there was a younger person posing a potential threat to humanity. Right. And he wanted to expose the secrets of the secret societies so that the organization could be destroyed or dismantled from within. So I think this is the whole message of the book.
Yeah. And so that's a little bit of a teaser. Guys, I put in the chat room, stay with us because it's very, very dark, but it ends in light. And that seems to be very sincere. There's lots of books out there that purport to be stories of this, and they don't have things like that. So, folks, as we go along, I just want to set this for you. When Patricia Corey was on, I think the week after Samuel was with me the first time, also very popular and getting a lot of views, thank goodness. I define conspiracy theories this way: a group of people who think something nefarious may secretly have been perpetrated by another group of people for extremely nefarious reasons. And that seems to be the work of these lodges, especially post the author. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that there are distinctions. There are fraternal organizations such as the Freemasons, and the Freemasons get this bad rap of being spooky and all of this. All of their rituals are death and rebirth rituals that are very symbolic. You die to your previous life, you're reborn within the organization. That means something. They're tied to Egyptian rituals, but I do believe that they're like the Knights of Columbus and the Rotary, and some of which I belong to. And they tend to be not the front organizations, but I think that there are things built up. You know by seeing my set here that I have lots of Knights Templar stuff. I find them fascinating. Well, after you become a 33rd degree Mason, in some cases, you join the Templars. And it's a name, and more interesting things go on. I have a friend who's a Templar who's told me a few things, but when you're in a club, Samuel, and you have secrets amongst your club that bind you together, that's reason enough to keep them secret because you feel special.
Yes, yes. By the way, I never joined any class because they never wanted me.
Oh, what? I can't imagine. You're so well-spoken and generous. I was a member of the Rotary, but if you pay your monthly due, they'll take you. I would say I didn't always fit in. I actually belonged to 2 Rotaries simultaneously in the same town. It was kind of weird. But where it gets interesting, folks, especially in America, and internationally, are with things like the Bilderberg Group or the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome. These are political leaders, industry leaders, top journalists who get together numerous times a year to set policy. Now, anybody that's at the top of anything, controlling anything, if you have a business, if you have a club, if you're the director of a play, you want to set policy. You want to control things, and you say, "Well, we're providing a service. We the Jeff Bezos of the world employ a lot of people. So there's still. I'm trying to say here, folks, that although maybe we don't agree with it, although there's a power differential that's really out of whack, although people say really horrible things about Amazon and how they treat their workforce and the accident rate and all of that, there's nothing really dark and nefarious there. And I want you to keep that in mind. Again, Samuel, would you agree with that?
Well, I used to think the same way, but
Okay.
I do believe that there's something going on behind
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And the actor for The Passion of Christ, and he disclosed certain things that happened in Hollywood, which I think
Yes.
he is a very credible actor.
Yeah. So you're talking about Mel Gibson.
Yes.
Yes, who's had a very interesting journey, and belongs to a very radical and old-fashioned, let's say old-fashioned and very strict conservative faction of Catholics, and his father too, and all that. But I was just watching a video the other day where he was talking about a very famous Hollywood actor that he said kind of glided onto a rooftop and scared the hell out of him. And we'll leave that name out of it. So there are the Corey Feldmans. There's interesting talk about what may have happened to Chester Bennington and then to Chris Cornell and what they might have disclosed. What if they might have said? Isaac Jaffe going off that bridge is a very interesting thing. I was soft pedaling here a little, but I do believe that these things exist. Let's go back to history. The Illuminati comes from the Bavarian Illuminati. A man named Adam Weishaupt, who was a professor of canon law in Bavaria. And the idea was to replace Christianity, which was very out there and kind of woo-woo and give everything over to God, and to have a religion of reason, if there is such a thing. I don't know if that's an oxymoron. But that was their idea. And from that, there are these legends of these secret papers that fell out of during the American Revolution, that everything is engineered. And that's what the Illuminati does. They engineered the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the American Civil War. Then we get into the Rothschilds and the international banking cabal, and we move right through World War I, where more things came up about the Illuminati, and then into World War II and so forth to modern times. And we'll talk about some of the events after this person left leadership. So and the last thing I want to say, Samuel, is that elitism, this idea that I have so much money, I have so much power, I have so much influence, I have things you want, right? I'm a professional actor. So if somebody comes to me and says, oh, I will give you a lead role in $1 million and make you a star, just come to this party. Oh, and here, smoke a little of this, swallow a little of this. And then they potentially have you blackmailed. I do think that this elitism leads to dangerous things like Jeffrey Epstein and his island. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to talk about this stuff. Never mind the larger picture of these global players. Yeah.
I think the elites or the super wealthy and super rich, they really want to know the purpose of life, how to live forever, and how to have as many years to live as possible. They're seeking for answers. And then when they're so empty inside, and someone just grabs their attention, saying that this is an ancient secret, this is like a ritual you can perform so that you can gain a lot of psychic powers or things like that. I think they're pretty much dragged into this for the reason that they don't have the knowledge and they don't know the real purpose of life, and they're kind of easily misled by the secret societies. And I think the original intention of the Illuminati was really good, to find religion with reason. And I think if they read the book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, they would have known all the secrets, all the insights of the purpose of life. And I think it's very interesting that some people just believe that the secret societies can bring them hope and a very good future. In fact, they can really connect to God, the creator, on their own by doing meditations or even by praying. And I think it's important to realize that we can really survive better and live better without having an agency or intermediary being these societies. Among my friends who want to join the secret societies, such as the lodge, I tell them you really don't need to, because you already have the knowledge, because they read the books already. So I say you have the knowledge already. You really don't need to do anything, or by joining them, you don't really get a lot of additional knowledge. And I think it's really important to know this, that secret societies just put this kind of hope to people, so that people can join them.
Right, and we're going to talk to that. So let's get into the book itself now. You pointed it out to me because I was unfamiliar with this extra little zero here in the percentage. So when I did my book review, I missed something major. Can you explain the significance of this title?
Yeah, this is a 1,000th, 334,000th lies. So if you do the math, if you use 1,000 to subtract 334, you get 666. 666 is the number of the devil. So 334,000th lies. So this is the truth of the 666. So this is how I understand it.
Good stuff, guys. So there's some of that encodement that we know and love here. So there's this nom de plume here, H.M. von the V. Stuhl. And so here's my theory, Samuel, and then you tell me what you think. I theorize that this translates to His Majesty, or perhaps highest master. I'm thinking more it's highest master, the chair, which is what Stuhl means in Germany, is the chair, meaning the holder of the highest seat in the lodge that oversees nearly all of the lodges and networks of secret lodges. So folks, if you've seen the movies where, you know what it really makes me think of? It thinks of the five families in the mafia, where they used to get together in New York or New Jersey and they would all come. It's all been very troped up in movies at all, but we have these leaders from everywhere that come together, sit around a big table to have their meetings. What do you think the name comes from, the nom de plume?
I think he was the highest chair of the organization, Illuminati. By the way, the word Illuminati never appears in the book. This
No.
is through my original research, so we can talk about that. But he actually united the North American branch and the European branch of the secret society together. And there was actually kind of a fight between the two branches, apparently. But he was able to overpower the North American branch and became the leader for the entire organization.
Right. And I really started thinking of it in terms of it, promoting it as Illuminati, because that's what you would say in our emails. You'd say, oh, he's the Illuminati. And I think it does fit, because I've researched a lot, watched a lot of documentaries, read a lot of books, and what Weisenhop started had tentacles. It became a Leviathan that went out and got into a lot of other things. So I think Illuminati is a good New World Order. Feels very American centric. He did talk about finance and control of finance, but it didn't seem like they were all bankers running the international banking cabal, and whether it be Rothschild or whether it be what went on in Jekyll Island here in the States that created the Federal Reserve. Not federal, nor is it a reserve, but sets our policy. Chairs of the Federal Reserve become head of the U.S. Treasury. The Federal Reserve does distribute dollars, and sometimes it will say reserve on them. So people, you need to really get educated on that. So Samuel, like you said, the author disappeared. So all we know of the author is that he disappeared in the summer of 2001. Remember that, folks. So June, July, somewhere 2001, and he was 41 years of age. Is there anything else, Samuel? Anything else that we know about the circumstances, where he might have gone? Anything?
He is a very mysterious person, and he has all these psychic powers that people can imagine, just like Jesus Christ. He can just virtually disappear in front of us. I mean, I'm pretty positive he could do that. So this is something about him, and also a high degree members of the organization. So just know this as a fact.
Yeah, we're going to get into some specific. It's actually, there's something that's so hard to believe in the book that we'll get to. So the book begins, you mentioned the forward where we have some information that comes out. It starts with a series of warnings. It's very serious. 340,000 of this book are lies. Samuel already talked about this. Do not read this book! Exclamation point. It's weird when you go to Amazon and you pay your money and you open a book and it says, don't read it. Burn it now while you're still ignorant. I said something to Samuel in the green room. No one else has had this experience that he knows of, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. In the afternoons, I take a break and I do my reading. So I was laying in bed, and I nodded off a couple times when I was reading the beginning, and I had some very disturbing dreams. Not necessarily related. I'm very sure that they were dreams. They weren't messages. They weren't visitations. They weren't psychic experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral travel. But it spooked me a little. But I said, no. I bought the book. I've committed to having Samuel on. I'm going to write a book review. So I soldiered on, and that quickly went away. It went away really before all the real dark stuff began, which we'll get to. So it's published in 2000. It causes a stir, and known simply as the book. So Samuel, I get the impression, and fill this in a little, but people, it starts to circulate around, and people are reading it, I guess, in Germany and Europe, and they're talking about the book. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about the book before. I only translated it like 2 years ago, and or almost 2 years ago. So I actually, when I read the book the first time, I wasn't really concentrating on the dark side. I was concentrating on how to be able to perceive the auras. And then the more I get into it, the more I think, it's very interesting what kind of things that people can do I was also very into the secrets of the secret societies. I really wanted to know what's really going on inside of them. Um, and but I also know there's a danger if I join them because once I join, I cannot get out. So I just want to observe from an outsider and to get as much information as possible. But being a Chinese myself, I have the advantage of getting all sorts of information from my Chinese like whistleblowers. And actually, one of the most important one is a person named Miles Guo, Guo, Miles, Miles. And he revealed a lot of information about the Illuminati. I mean, he actually was asked to join the Freemasons, but he didn't. The Freemasons provided a lot of financial assistance to him in his early days when he was just starting to become a businessman. And he actually later on became a billionaire and had a very close relationship with the Freemasons. But he also learned about the Illuminati, and he perceived the Illuminati to be a very kind of devilish, evil organization that actually is like an octopus. It has a lot of direct lines to different countries. It's not like an international organization in which people can contact each other from different countries, but it's like a straight line. Like the Chinese contact, they go into straight line. They don't contact the other members of the other countries. So among the Chinese members, he revealed that the current vice president of China, Wang Qishan, this is according to him, was and still is a member of the Illuminati. So are many of the people who were in the high positions of the government in charge of the making economic or financial policies of China, like high position government officials. Even I think the son of the former president Deng Xiaoping was a member of the Illuminati. And also some of the founding members of the People's Republic of China were members of that organization. So that's like according when I heard about that, it seems like to be very, very incredible because how could Chinese leaders be members of the Illuminati? That cast a lot of doubts on what he said. But again, he was a very credible person to me. To me, he has a lot of intelligence or intel that other people don't have. For example, he knew what really happened before the pandemic. Like he was warning people about something was going to happen in China, in Hong Kong, and also to the U.S. elections, like the last election. And so a lot of his predictions came true. So that actually resulted in me giving him a lot of credits and making me believe in what he was telling people about. So this is my take. So I think the organization is very strange and very interesting, and also with the fact that Ronald Bernard, to me, is also a very credible person. And I had other people to read him, his way of talking and also his behaviors, his gestures. And they all say that he can easily pass lie detectors. He's an extremely credible person. Ronald Bernard, people just look it up. And he had an interview with Sacha Stone about the rituals that he observed when members of the Illuminati was trying to do certain things. So I think when so many dots connect together, you have to believe that everything written in this book may be the truth.
Right. And that's really all we can do as researchers is talk to credible people. I try to have very credible people on my show. I don't have kooks or people who are just, talking about cloning and as if it's fact.
Yeah.
I had a conversation the other night with a friend out in LA, out in Hollywood, and he was having lunch with someone else like that. And he said, how about this train thing? And I said, yeah, maybe it's predictive programming with white noise. And that's what, and he said, oh, I had lunch with this person and they said, forget predictive program. This happened and it was on purpose and you have to know it. I don't think that helps. I think we really have to sit back, collect the data and look for parallels and patterns. Like you said, when someone predicts something and it comes true, either it was a lucky guess or they had insider information.
I have to tell you, Miles Guo, doesn't get it from any of the, for example, supernatural abilities that he has.
Right.
He doesn't have supernatural abilities. He gets his information from whistleblowers, from insiders in the Chinese government. So
Yeah.
he has a lot of intel that others may think are just conspiracy theories. For example, before the pandemic started, before the Wuhan incident occurred, he he says that the Wang Qishan, the vice president of China, made several secret trips without the knowledge of other high government officials in China to the Wuhan Institute of Biology, and that actually surprised me quite a bit because, when a Chinese government leader like him visits a place, and he had to report it to other, like the members of the Politburo of China. But when he does that secretly without letting them know, then that means that it's something like very sneaky going on.
Yeah.
And especially that's before the leak of the viruses from the Wuhan Institute of Biology, that he made the several trips. So that says something. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are, you can find them on the internet, folks. Go out. There are several U.S. Department of State letters. They had been to that lab. So here's two countries who supposedly don't get along, and you have U.S. diplomats touring this virology lab. We don't want to go too sideways. It's a good way to get these videos taken down, but a good point. And we will get to that again about what happened after von Stuhl disappeared. So this gets interesting, folks. So people are whispering out about the book. And there's a rumor that 3 teenagers were in a forest in Switzerland, and they were found with their bodies arranged in a star shape, their feet touched, an open copy of the book that lay right in the middle of them. So this is really good propaganda to sell books, or something. Do you know anything about that incident, Samuel? What you're feeling on it?
I know nothing about the incident. I did some search on the internet, but I couldn't find any trace of information. So I cannot confirm that story.
Right. So bringing that up, it says that, again, in the forward, it says that forums and posts discussing the books have been wiped. You mentioned a forum where you initially found out about it. Is it harder to find information on the book now through discussion groups?
A lot of information is in German, not in English.
Okay.
And I think it's only after the book was translated into English that people began to have. I think yours is the first public review about this book. So
okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So for the people who are afraid of reading this book or are not prone to the dark scenes described in the book, I just recommend them to read your review. I suggest them to read it.
That's a good way to go. So we'll get to that. So he takes us through the forward. He says, burn it now. These kids died with the book in the middle. They're doing some kind of dark ritual. Don't read the book. But then as he gets into the first chapter, the first section closes with, maybe everything is true as written in the book. And the first chapter says, what I say is not made up. It is reliable and true. And that's your feeling.
Yes, because, from the writing of this author, his writing skill is really rudimentary, really like basic, not a very high educated person. I mean, if someone really wants to sell this book just for selling this book, he would have just have a ghostwriter to write a better one. I mean, if you read the book, if you read the tones of the book, of the language, I mean, it's pretty sincere. So I would take that 100% of what's written here to be true, even though they have a lot of dark rituals, and I think those are just realities. We have to know what's really going on behind or inside the secret societies in order to know how to respond to the circumstances.
I agree. So here's his story, folks. He's a college kid, and he's kind of wandering through school and kind of mundane, and people don't notice him. And he's sort of very, very average, like Samuel said, not particularly intelligent or erudite or anything like that. And he meets a beautiful, mysterious girl who takes him to this house to a meeting. It's so trope, it's so Hollywood that you kind of go, oh, okay, this is interesting. Or maybe that's how these things happen. The femme fatale, the lure, it's used in espionage all around the world. CIA uses it, MI5 uses it, all the different agencies use it. Pretty quickly then, all I will say is that they take him down in a basement, they tie him up, and he undergoes brutal, scatological, very deviant, and very disturbing initiations. Now, we could leave it at that, and we could say, and Samuel, you said some people put the book down right around page 33. Interesting number, 33 for the Freemason, Scottish Masonry. But if you press on, folks, you see that there's a reason for this. I don't believe that he goes into this detail just to be shocking, just to sell books, what they call torture porn. I don't think that's what's going on here at all. He is broken down. Brutal, scatological, deviant, use your imagination. They break him down in the course of an evening so that he is wiped. And Craig Ansel and I have talked about the programs like Artichoke and psychic driving and erasing people and brainwashing and rebuilding them. Kind of has that. So this guy is completely broken down. He's humiliated. His ego is wiped. It's crushed. So then they give him an opportunity to do almost the same to someone else. If you think about hazing rituals, there's a college, NCAA basketball program, which was just suspended indefinitely because of hazing programs. I think what keeps hazing programs going is I'm a freshman, horrible things are done to me, and I spend 3 years of my ego going, I'm going to be a senior one day. I'm going to be the hazer, and it's owed to me because things have to come back into balance. Let me stop there, Samuel, and ask you what you think about my interpretation of that.
I think your interpretation is right on. I have a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
To add on what you just said, is that they are masters of interpreting the auras or human energy fields. So they would know right away what you are into. If you're into women, if you're into money, or if you're into power, or if you get turned on by certain devious sexual activities, they can tell whether you're homosexual or get turned on by homosexual activities or not. They can just immediately know how to get you, how to really kind of make you be in their clasp or maybe in their control. So what happens in this book is that I would imagine that they knew immediately that the author was a bisexual, and he got turned on by how do you pronounce the word? I don't know.
Scatological activities. Yeah.
Yes. So actually, he described that he was turned on by everything, even though he was extremely humiliated. So I think it's very interesting to know or to note that when you are approached by members of the secret societies like them, if they really want to get you, it's really hard to escape their kind of like their trap. So I think it's important to have the knowledge to know this. So this is why reading and interpreting auras are extremely important, and because they can know everything about you.
Right. Thank you. That's an excellent point. And I do, before our hour is over, I want to ask you how your progress is going with yours. But so let's keep going. So they read him. They know his weaknesses. In Hollywood, folks, it's pretty simple. You get off the bus from Iowa, you want to be famous. So they have that lure right there. Folks, on this show over the past 3 years, I've told you the story of how Tanya and I, my wife, were taken for $17,500 by a con artist because he knew how to read what our desires were, what the gaps were in our life. And that's what con artists do. I would happily pay that $17,500 for the lesson that I learned in human nature and the fact that I have a price, right? Samuel, that's the danger. We all have a price. We all have a weakness. We all have goals and gaps between where we are, and they say, I can help you fill it. That's the danger.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So this is a lot of people don't know about auras or human energy fields. So this is why I've been so desperately looking for help to develop this aura camera. Just for example, Rosalind Brewery, a person who can see auras, very, very precise manner. She just refuses to work with me because she thinks I'm just a nobody, and I'm not affiliated with any educational organization, which really disappoints me a lot. Rosalind Berry, if you're watching this, please don't get offended with this fact. I try to approach her so many times. So I have to look for other people to help me. Right now, the challenge is that some people are able to see auras, certain layers of the auras, but others can see more layers of the auras. I'm trying to get more consistent data, consistent readings, because a lot of aura readers see different colors. So that poses a difficulty or challenge to develop this aura camera.
Right. So you're talking about the idea of Carillion photography, but
Yes,
to do it in a different way.
Yeah, in a different way. Current photography only can photograph like the effects in black and white, but I'm trying to make it into colored photos so that we can better interpret the meanings of different colors. This is a very important thing to know and to realize in order for the secret society like the Illuminati to be broken from within or from the outside.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly. The only way is to do it from the inside, which is interesting. I went to college with a young man. We've since lost contact, or I would put him in touch with you. But I will tell you off camera what his name is if you want to try to search for him. Very nice man of Greek extraction. And he took me aside one day. He was a big guy, always wore the sweaters. Button-up sweaters, very soft-spoken, and he said, I can read auras, and I would like to tell you some things around your aura. And I've always been a person where people that I hardly know tell me everything about their life within an hour. And he said, you have a very strong green aura, and that draws people to you. They immediately trust you, and they will tell you things. And I said, wow, that's spot on. And as a young man of 18, 19, I guess I was 19, 20 years old at the time, I took that as a big responsibility. Don't take advantage. Because if you know, the flip side is to read auras, but the other is to know what people are subconsciously picking up from your aura, to not take advantage of them.
Right. So right now, I'm just thinking about different ways to approach this issue to develop this aura camera. And if you know anyone who can do it, who can read auras, please let me know. And your audience and anyone else, because I think if we don't do that, I think the future is probably going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, we're certainly headed. We're certainly headed that way. I'm 54 years old, and it feels unprecedented.
Yeah.
If you look at everything, the geopolitical, the exopolitical, right? This idea of colonizing Mars or claiming it, or claiming Bill Nelson of NASA in January said China is going to go to the moon 3 times this year, and they may claim portions of the moon. So we're hearing about things and disasters and technology. Transhumanism is a very scary thing to me. Let's learn how to be human before we transcend human into something robotic. So this man has a gift, and he ascends fairly rapidly, and the head of the organization really takes him under his wing and mentors him. Yes. He tells him, if you know these complex mathematics and you know the planet alignments and all of these kinds of things, you can read your future, and knowing your future gives you amazing power. Do you want to talk a little bit about that aspect of the book?
Well, I think this is his destiny, or his purpose in life is to become the leader of this organization. and really because he is really a old soul. He was kind of like a leader in ancient Egypt in one of his past lives, and I think this is his imprint. I mean, he was shown this is his destiny to become the leader of this organization. Right. And I think he had to take all the steps necessary to become the leader. And this is just follow his footprint in his current lifetime. And I think this is just very natural to him to become the leader.
Yeah, it sure seemed like it. And he was clicking things off, and he was getting the game, and he was outmaneuvering. So it's this chess piece, folks. It reminds me of warrior societies. The Vikings come to mind, where you come to a jarl, you come to an earl, and you say, I want to challenge you. Let's go right now. Or, hey, I think your wife is very pretty. Let's fight for her. And whoever is surviving will get her. So this goes all the way back in time. This idea of these duels and these challenges. He ascends so highly. He talks about you can't just ascend one level. You have to ascend 2 levels.
Yeah, I mean, he used the trick to ascend to the highest level possible, and then he wanted to obtain more power, more recognition, so that he had to ascend 2 levels more than the existing highest level, or highest degree. So he actually ascended to the 41st degree, which is higher than the previously existing the 39th degree of that organization. Yeah.
So he finally winds up challenging his mentor, and it felt a little like Ben Kenobi to me. It was a little bit that his mentor sort of sacrificed himself because the destiny needed to be enacted. He went on to whatever his next thing was, and then he starts to organize and starts to go different places in the world and call meetings, and there is this young guy who's trouble. It feels like Antichrist kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to pick up from there?
Yes. People have predicted about the coming of Antichrist. Well, I think this younger person is probably the Antichrist. I mean, it just feels to me that if the author felt threatened by this young man, I think this young man must have extremely powerful psychic powers. And I think it's pretty dangerous. Again, I really want to emphasize that the author is really powerful. He has, if you read the book, you're going to know what he can do. He can really read people and know immediately what they're about, and he can use a lot of mind control to influence the behaviors, even the politicians as well. So this younger person is more powerful psychically than him. You can imagine what kind of person it is.
Right. And I want to give one example, folks, but really, like I always say, read the book and find out for yourself. So this young man is very, very powerful, and our author here, von Stuhl, is trying to stake his claim because he wants to change things. He wants to move things towards the light. He doesn't like the way things are going. Things have gotten corrupted to a degree that he no longer agrees with. So he agrees to be buried under the ground. Now, there was a man named Paul Bunton who wrote A Short Path to Enlightenment. There's a whole Paul Brunton Foundation. He did travelogues as he went through Egypt and went through India. And he talked about jinn experiences of leaders. I was thinking about leaders in China who are in the Illuminati, who may be calling upon higher, darker forces to aid them. It's pretty well cataloged in places like Iran that the politicians call upon these jinn. And he talked about fakirs and people who could be underground for a day or a couple of days. No. Our friend here, von Stuhl, 6 weeks. Samuel, what did you think when you read that?
I think it's doable. It really didn't surprise me at all when I first read it. I think it's plausible and possible, and people can do it. It just requires practice. I mean, it really didn't surprise me at all.
Okay, so 6 weeks. And while he's there, he has these visions, which become so everything is balanced, folks. I told you we're gonna start with darkness, we're gonna end in light. So we have this young man who could be, by the broad of the definitions, or maybe more specific, the Antichrist. So he has a vision, Samuel, of a very unique person.
Yes, that's true. And I wouldn't disclose it. I mean, people should read the book to know what
Okay.
what that description is. But
Okay, very good. That's what we'll do. Good. Well done. There you go. So so let's end here. Well, before we get into the love stuff. So the author relinquishes his spot. He relinquishes his spot. He gives it up. He's done the 6 weeks. Obviously, the tide is going in the wrong direction. He relinquishes his spot. He disappears. A few months later, we have 9/11. Since 9/11, we've had constant war in the Middle East. We had the housing and banking crash of 2008. And now, folks, do you know that credit card debt is at its highest level ever? Last quarter set its highest level for credit card debt. And part of the reason is the average credit card percentage rate is 20%. That's the average. To me, that's usury. Any legal definition of usury, 20% interest. And some people are paying as high. I have a friend in the UK, and she said some cards are 29%. Those are dollars a day, even on a small amount of debt, a few thousand. So we have that. We have COVID-19. We have the invasion of Ukraine, which just marked a year yesterday. We have saber rattling between China and America, which I imagine, Samuel, puts you in somewhat of an uncomfortable position.
I mean, I'm all for democracy and also all for freedom of press and things like that. And I think any dictatorship needs to be taken down.
There you go. All right. Declared. We have these UAP incidents, the weird things with the balloons, and you have $40 million airplanes shooting down amateur club weather balloons, if you believe the latest story about what got shot down over. We have the train and the white noise. We have these factories right near me. A copper alloy factory exploded. And then suddenly we see a map where we're having all of these industrial accidents. I already talked about the earthquake in Turkey, so I'm not going to revisit it. You could go back and look at that and see. Latest count is 48,000 dead. So the world is kind of going in a wrong place, a bad direction, which you talked about with Thiaoouba Prophecy. So this is where your two projects really overlap.
Yeah, I mean, the future is probably going to be more complicated unless we really have a collective consciousness to get ourselves together and to move to a more peaceful demonstration or nonviolent resistance. We have to act together. So the two books all talk about the nonviolent resistance by the people. The members of the Illuminati, they're afraid of the power of the people. They say that it doesn't really matter what kind of super psychic powers they have. They're afraid of the power of the people, the collective consciousness of the people. And Thiaoouba Prophecy also suggests people to unite and to have a strike using nonviolent resistance to rise up against the tyranny. And so it just, people need to have the knowledge and to have the awareness of what's really going on behind everything. I kind of over the years I kind of sense that the politicians are just puppets, and there's a deep state that pulls the strings and to run the show, and behind the deep state there's another group of people that I suspect to be members of these secret societies, because they never come to the front stage. We don't even know the names of their members, and we don't need to know because they never appear in public eye. They never appear in the media. So, but the key is to realize that we can connect to the source on our own. We don't need to rely on the government or the deep state or the secret societies to speak in that sense. Is that we can really live our life by knowing the way and the purpose, which is to learn spiritual lessons through the different challenges that we face in life. And I think people who want to live forever, especially the super wealthy, they are mistaken if they really want to obtain their end goals by joining secret societies. I would say that if you really want to know the secrets of life, how to live forever and how to regenerate your organs or body tissues, just read the two books, Thiaoouba Prophecy and 334,000 Lies. You're going to know everything you need to know without joining the secret societies, in which when you join, you cannot get out. You have to perform all the rituals. And a lot of them involve killing innocent people like babies, and terrible. And you don't need to do that.
There you go. So, and he does. He tells us, the author, abstain from crimes. Do not be seduced. Do not be guided by your ego, your ideas, or your pettiness. Those are all weaknesses that they can prey upon. Those are all weaknesses that diminish your aura or change you into the lower tribal, lower chakras, if we want to talk about those. It's very, very powerful. Keep your vibration high. There's an experiment that I used to do with young people in my social justice theater company. I had one group say things like hate, annihilation, desecration. I had another group, and I would split them evenly, and they would say love, compassion, those kinds of things. Well, the shouters, the shouting the negative, they would get it over till the love people joined together, and invariably they would join hands, they would hug, they would begin to sing and chant these love things, and the dark words, the dark energy could not survive it. They backed down, they gave up, and some of them crossed the line without any direction from me and joined the love group. They said, the hell with this, I'm going over to the love group. And so I know through my own experiments that these words have power. I was Mikichi Kuku, I think, did the water experiments where you put the labels with the words and the water crystallizes according to the words. So if you put hatred, you get this very fractured, disjointed. If you put love, if you put light, I love myself, I love the world, you get these beautiful crystalline patterns. So again, patterns and parallels, we're getting this. He speaks of the power of love, like Samuel said, and he tells us again, the power of the collective consciousness of humanity will break down even the greatest supernatural powers of darkness. I believe that. That's why I do this. Samuel, having folks like you on and some of the conversations that Craig and I have, I'm getting these messages from friends and colleagues who are going, be careful. They're watching you, maybe don't, do this, or don't do it as much, or watch what names you say. And I feel like we have to get the information out to the people to do with and give them the tools to do their research. Is that why you do this? Is that you keep a very busy speaking schedule?
Yes, I do that because I know the secret that the author Michel Desmarquet didn't write in the book Thiaoouba Prophecy. The whole reason is that what he didn't write shocked me a lot. I mean, even this book, 334,000 Lies, didn't shock me that much as that information. We don't have a lot of time left. We have to change the course of the future by acting together. And I'm doing everything possible that I can. Nowadays we have an advantage. Like people who watch different channels or different shows, they're inclined to believe certain things. So I can just join as a guest on different shows, and if they allow me to speak, that means their audience are inclined to believe what I say. So I can just step by step to enlighten, or maybe just to give knowledge to the people who are willing to listen. Yeah. And then I'm going to take a different approach, going into my professional career, like the people who don't necessarily believe in the dangers of certain things or the conspiracy theories. And I can just try to give them hints on some of the things that happen around them, and just to induce them into the things that they never considered previously. So I'm going to take that approach and to hopefully wake more people up.
There you go. So this was your first one. You got through it, and I think you did amazing. Folks, the book is 334,000th Lies. It is on Amazon. And I put a pretty honest review, talked about some of the things, not in detail, but they published a review, which was wonderful. So more reviews, more visibility. Samuel, I want to thank you so much, not only for the work you're doing, but for coming back and spending the time.
Thank you. And just one final warning, this book contains a lot of dark descriptions. It's not for the average reader, as you mentioned in your excellent review, and I love your review. So if you really don't want to read the torture scenes, just read Joy's review. And
there you go. So go to New Mystics blog, New Mystics Reviews, newmysticsreviews.com, folks, and you can read that review. Thank you very much for that. Just stay with me because I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. Charles says, keep sending the message. We all have power. We just have to accept it and use it wisely. And there you go. So thank you all. We'll see you next week. Craig and I will be back. We're going to be talking about Operation Condor, which was government-sponsored assassination programs. So we're going to continue until they don't let us continue anymore. So everybody take care. Good night, everyone. Samuel.